This is Angela from E1 Support. In this video, we will look at using two-factor authentication with a Talk2M Pro account. Two-factor authentication provides an additional layer of security by confirming a user's identity using two different components, typically one that the user knows, like a password or bank PIN, and one that the user has, such as a bank card or specific hardware device. For two-factor authentication on a Talk2M Pro account, the component you know is your Talk2M account credentials, and the component you have is your mobile phone. When two-factor authentication is enabled for a user on a Talk2M Pro account, after the user enters his Talk2M login credentials into eCatcher or M2Web, Talk2M will send an SMS with a one-time code to the mobile number stored for this user. The user will then need to enter that code to access the account. Administrators can also allow users to use their PCs as the second authentication factor. When a user logs in using the code to their mobile phone, they will be able to select Remember this PC. Once that box is checked, any future logins from this PC by this user will not require the code from Talk2M unless the administrator revokes that right. To configure the two-factor authentication settings for your Talk2M Pro account, in eCatcher, select the Account button. In the Security Policy section, select Modify Two-Factor Authentication Policy. Specify the default two-factor authentication behavior for new users and whether the Remember this PC option is allowed. You can also set a time limit for the Remember this PC feature to periodically force users to use the SMS code to confirm their identity. To enable two-factor authentication for a particular user, from the User section in eCatcher, select the appropriate user and click on Properties. Then select Enable Two-Factor Authentication. You then have the option to enter the user's mobile number or allow the user to enter their own number on their next login. Be sure to enter the country code when entering the mobile number. Every user with two-factor authentication enabled must have at least one mobile number associated with their login. Users with administrator rights must also have a backup mobile number entered as well. If they lose access to their primary device or do not receive the text message, they can request that the code be sent to their backup number instead. To revoke the Remember this PC right for a user, from the user's property page, select Revoke All Authorizations.